What's the weirdest scenario you have ever woken up to after drinking? One night, I came home from a party. For some reason, I get really hungry when I'm drunk, so I decided to make myself some food. I found a frozen pizza and put it in the oven, on top of some newspaper to avoid messing up the oven. It seemed pretty logical at that point. I turned around, slicing up some bacon to put on the frozen pizza. I cut myself pretty badly while doing this, but I didn't notice. I hear a sound, so I turn around. It's the paper in the oven. It's burning. This is all I can remember. I wake up to my mom shouting. I'm on the floor of my kitchen. Around me is what looks like some sort of satanic food ritual. There are ashes and blood in a circle around me. I had seemingly tried to put out the burning paper with my bleeding hands. Bacon and a pretty messed up, halfway done frozen pizza has formed some sort of mattress under me, and for some reason, my pants are halfway down my legs. It was January of my freshman year at college in Tampa. I woke up on a park bench next to a homeless man. He said to me when he saw me waking up, "You looked cold, so I covered you up." I was covered in a rather dirty blanket. Upon sitting up and experiencing those first shooting hangover pains, the homeless gentleman, who now has introduced himself as Steven, reaches into his bag and pulls out a flask, handed it to me, and said this will help. It did. I tried to give Steve what I had in my wallet, little more than $20, but he refused, so I asked him if he slept there often. He said yes, so I went to Target later that day and bought the most comfortable blanket I could find, had one of the older students buy a handle of Captain, and scored a 20. I went back to that same bench and sat there for a while until Steve arrived, gave him what I had bought, and told him that he was the nicest person I'd ever met. Woke up on a mate's doorstep, outside, wearing a different set of clothes to what I was originally wearing. This mate wasn't even out that night. He woke me up at 9 a.m. as he was leaving for work, had loads of bird crap on me as well. I once woke up with a girl I didn't know, and 2 of my fingers were broken. I didn't ask her name, and just dropped her off, so I'll never really know what happened. A month later, I woke up with her again, and had to go to the hospital because my foot was still bleeding. Still don't know her name, but she may be a harbinger of my death. Freshman year in college, home for break, my friend and I went to a house party in his neighborhood and drank a hefty amount of Keystone Ice. I don't remember feeling all that drunk, but I must have been. We went back to my friend's house. He lives in a ranch style, relevant later. After raiding the fridge, I passed out on the couch and he went to his room down the hall. The bathroom was also down the hall along with the rest of the bedrooms in that home. The next thing I remember was hearing, smack, smack, wake up, honey, smack. Why don't you go to the couch? My reply, I am on the couch. That is when I opened my eyes and saw where I was. My friend's parents' bed, curled up. It was 8 the next morning. You could hear my jaw hit the floor. I jumped up, didn't say a word, and did the walk of shame back to the couch to sleep a little more, hoping it was just a dream. An hour or 2 go by and I hear my friend and his mom laughing their butts off in the kitchen. It was then that I knew this wasn't a dream. It turns out I must have gotten up to go to the bathroom and somehow gotten turned around and walked into their bedroom and plopped myself down. The best part was that my friend's father woke up the next morning for work and saw me there, but just left me so I could sleep. Embarrassing at the time, but it will make for a great speech at my wedding. I woke up under my back deck in the rain with my dog guarding me. I got the full story later. I had a mental breakdown, decided to punish myself by sleeping outside, and the dog wouldn't come in if I didn't. Wife got fed up and went to bed. I got sick and appreciated how loyal my dog was. Woke up in the back of a taxi in Poland. I live in London. Got blind drunk on a night out at university. Apparently met some friends who were getting a 4 a.m. flight from London to Poland. They had a mate who hadn't turned up and apparently paid for my name to be changed on the ticket that night. Don't remember getting to the airport, the flight, getting in a taxi at the airport where I fell asleep and woke up an hour later, really effing confused as to why I was A, in a taxi, and B, surrounded by snow. Taxi driver dropped me off at my friend's in a shipyard workers' hostel, where I realized that after packing in my drunken state, all I had brought for the weekend in Poland in the winter was flip-flops, a pair of shorts, swimming goggles, and a Warner Brother World t-shirt. Great weekend though once I got over the initial WTF. Polish people are so friendly, except for the police. After quite a drunk and snowy night in college, on a nameless island in northern Maine, my friend and I woke up sunburned on a beach in a national park, surrounded by Asian tourists taking photos around us. I still don't know how we made the 10-mile ride. Woke up fully dressed with that feeling that something bad happened. Reached over for my glasses, which were nowhere to be found. Decided to check my phone for clues, but it was gone. Wallet empty, passport gone. Decided to shower and get cleaned up and discovered a fairly bad cut on my bicep. Wandered into the kitchen in my halls, and people started asking me where I was the night before. Frick, I was hoping they could tell me, but the mystery remains. Still look at that scar every now and again, and wonder what the frick happened. Once in college, after a late-night bender, we, 6-person dorm, were awakened by yelling in the living room. One guy was missing a tooth, another guy had a broken collarbone. Broken tooth guy pushed collarbone guy into a wall because he thought the tooth was his fault. This re-broke the collarbone, and we ended up calling EMs with a "he fell down the stairs" story. We also found the missing tooth in a glass of milk in the fridge. Crazy day. Another time, much earlier in life, I woke up in the bushes outside a house with one shoe on, late for an interview and covered in mud. Friends picked me up and we went straight to the interview. I could barely talk, had to buy a pair of sandals there, and smelled awful. I got the job. Hollister really doesn't give a crap. Edit. One more. In Cancun one summer, friends and I were out at one of the clubs until very early in the morning. Being hammered, I decided the bus was a good place to pass out. Near our hotel, my friends thought it would be a good idea to shake drunk me awake and tell me we had to stop now. First thing my eyes saw was a big red lever on the window. Why shouldn't that stop the bus? Gave it a good tug, and the window pane popped halfway out the bus, which immediately caused the bus driver to pull over. Mission accomplished. The now irate bus driver was yelling about calling the policia in my face. I offered him cash, and he gave me a good hard look and said, 100 pesos, about $10. It was my first bribe. I woke up at a marina at 6 a.m. with my left arm and leg hanging over the edge, over the water. No fricking idea how I got there. I woke up in a fire pit with more than 10 friends screaming, "Frick, oh frick, 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 frick." Stayed over at a friend's house. He had an awesome loft bed over a normal bed. I fell asleep below, and he above. We both woke up in the bed, opposite to the one we'd fallen asleep in. Once I woke up next to a friend, and we were both in our underwear, on a soaking wet bed, with cups everywhere and the bathroom sink running. A week later I woke, wrapped up in my comforter, and sleeping on my longboard with my hands in my shoes. I should probably slow down on the drinking. Woke up alone in the bathtub, naked, except for a pair of socks, clutching a piece of burnt toast. No butter. Woke up still drunk and stoned on the couch in the suite room of my friend's college dorm. I woke up from the sound of 2 adults walking into the suite. My friend's suite mate had dropped acid and called the paramedics on himself because he was throwing up. I sat up and sat there perfectly still, watched them examine him, and then strap him into a chair and take him out. Nobody acknowledged my existence. In the morning, I wake up in the same location from someone coming into the room. It's the suite mate. He's in a hospital gown with electrodes stuck to his chest. He escaped from the hospital. Edit. So they came to find him later that day. I wasn't around and I forgot what happened, but it wasn't more than a slap on the wrist type punishment. He didn't get arrested or anything. They probably made him pay for the visit and maybe a fine. It was a state school. I doubt he was the first or last intoxicated escapee. Haha. About 20 years ago, I woke up one morning in the basement of the old Communist Party headquarters in Prague, Czech Republic. This was 1993. My face was in a large pool of warm yellow liquid, and I was not sure how I had gotten there. Soviet flags and insignias on the walls. Sprawled bodies were all over the floor and on nearby tables. Last memory is of being in the club and having a very drunk Finnish man laughing, hugging me, and telling the women that he was going to take me into a nearby park, kill me, and steal all my money, which apparently is a funny prank to play on an American student. Good news is this was post-collapse of the Soviet Union, and the party headquarters had been converted into a beer hall. The pool of fluid had come from spilled beers and the like, but there was a long moment where I was still drunk, and all I could think is that I had somehow survived a bloody coup. I had just woken up in my apartment after a night of drinking. I wasn't feeling too well, so I ended up throwing up, hopped in the shower to ease my queasiness, and passed out naked on the floor in front of my bathroom. I wake up about an hour later and had to crap, so I'm sitting on the toilet when I hear my TV. I didn't remember turning it on, but I'm severely hungover, so I don't think much of it. All of a sudden, I hear little footsteps. I look up, and standing in my bathroom door is a little boy of about 1 or 2 years old. When I realized I wasn't hallucinating, I noticed the kid's nose was running pretty bad. As the oldest of 4 kids, my first instinct is to wipe the kid's nose. I shove some TP in my butt and put on my boxer briefs. I walk out into my living room, and sitting on my couch is a little girl, probably about 4 years old. At this point, I don't know what to think, so I just wipe the kid's nose and ask the little girl where they came from. She points at my front door. I ask her which apartment they live in, and she again points at my front door. I shake my head and tell them to sit tight and watch TV while I finish pooping. As I'm walking back to my bathroom, there is a knock on the door. I figure it's the parents looking for their kids, so, without thinking about the fact that I am wearing just underwear, I answer the door. I am greeted by 4 police officers. I immediately realize how bad this looks, so I blurt out, "Hey guys, I just woke up and found these kids in my apartment. Come on in and get them." One of the officers smiles and says hi because he frequents my store. Another calls down to the parents. They come up the stairs and grab their kids. Officer just says thanks, and I shut the door. It's not really waking up, but when I was in Tokyo for spring break, I came out of my blackout after landing on the roof of a 2-story house. I never found out how, but I'm guessing my love of Ninja Warrior played a role. It resulted in 2 broken feet and a group of police officers carrying me down the stairs. I woke up on a sofa bed in my friend's house after a party that had me drinking vodka straight. My brain hurt, and coffee was needed to kick my brain into gear. I took a quick, "who's next to me?" check, and turns out I was alone. Success. Had a girlfriend already. I decided to make coffee. I stumbled out of bed and was quickly confused by the scene I saw. 2 men I'd met the same evening were lying down, one on the floor, one on my friend's piano, in just their pants, as in underpants. It confused the heck out of me. However, that wasn't the strangest thing. During their drunken stupidity, they'd gone through 36 WKDs together, so sugar and booze equals frick me energy, destroy things. They discovered that my friend's table comes apart with a swift application of force. They'd constructed a crude pentagram in the room and surrounded it by tissue paper, toilet roll holders, a bog brush, and a curtain rail. In the center of the pentagram was a Lido, still activated and turning very confusingly. I stood there, contemplated my existence, went and fetched coffee, and sat on the sofa bed staring at the entire scene, taking in as much detail as possible. I was confused as to what they tried to summon to the party. From what I could understand, 6 hours later they woke up with the most amazing hangovers and sugar crash headaches known to mankind. We were having a house party with a new group in celebration of an event in college, and none of us had drank together before, so we went big. It was at my house. There were a handful of people that stayed the night, and I let some overly drunk and sick girls stay in my room, and I crashed on the couch downstairs. In the middle of the night, around 3 a.m., I wake up and decide to go check my girlfriend upstairs. As I turn the corner to start walking up the staircase, there is the most disturbing thing I have ever seen. At perfect eye level, about 8 stairs up, is a girl with her pants completely off in a crab walk position, slowly crab walking down the stairs as she is taking a piss. She was coming towards me, leaving a snail trail all the way down the stairs, soaking the carpet. She is completely wasted and borderline unconscious. She didn't remember it the next day, and I painfully had to explain to her why I needed her to clean the carpet on the staircase. Went home with a girl on a one-night stand to an apartment that she lived in by herself. I woke up the next morning to her dad busting in yelling, "Brooke, wake up! Your sister is having a baby, and I've been trying to reach you since 1 a.m. Yeah, it was a little awkward at first, but it only got worse when she brought me to the hospital with her, so she could fake that we were dating, and not to look like a hoe in front of her family. I even got to meet the newest member of the family, went to bed on a one-night stand, woke up to a birth.